Okay, so let's talk about Dynamics 365 AI for Sales. This is a new offering we're going to be releasing in the fall, starting in the October timeframe. And we're going to talk about the AI capabilities that we have. So a quick introduction to myself. My name is Jason Hugh. I'm a senior program manager on Dynamics 365 for Sales. And I've been with Microsoft for a number of years now working on the intelligent scenarios. So let's kick it off. Historically, Dynamics 365 has been a system of records. Salespeople enter data into the system, yet the system does not provide them any information that makes them, incentivizes them to do so. But with the AI capabilities that we're building today, we're really hoping to change this story and provide these insights that help salespeople do their jobs better and more effectively and sell more. So let's talk about these scenarios on how we do this. Let's walk through a typical scenario of what happens when a salesperson sells. So typically, a salesperson starts off with a lead. They want to understand which are the leads with the most potential. Next, when they do have a lead, they want to know who also knows this person with my company, who can also give me an introduction. When I start engaging with the customer, how do I know what the customer has done after I send out an email? Do I know that they're interested? When I'm working within this deal, I'm putting in lots of information to Dynamics, but we always want to make sure we create the right records. We want to create emails, meetings, phone calls. We don't just want to put everything in the system in an unstructured format. When we're working on the deal, we want the system to tell me which are the opportunities that have the highest likelihood of closing. In addition, when I'm dealing with the customer, I want to know the details about them. I want to know who are the customers I need to work with, I haven't had enough engagement with. And that's where we measure all the activities that's happened, and we provide you with health scores. We also automatically bring in data from the exchange and integrate that into the timeline so salespeople can really quickly bring that data in without having to go to Outlook. We never want salespeople to forget details about customers, so we also want to provide the information from past interactions to remind them of what's happened. And along the entire way, the relationship assistant will really provide salespeople with information they need to know before they ask for it. So this is a high-level overview. Let's go drill down into each one into greater depth. I'm hoping this is a more interactive session, so if anyone has questions or comments, feel free to ask along the way. So let's start about this process and see what happens when a seller needs to use Dynamics and how we can help. So one of the capabilities we're releasing for the fall is actually two capabilities. It's lead scoring and opportunity scoring. We use AI machine learning models to look at historical records of all the deals that's happened that's inside the system to determine characteristics that lead to a higher likelihood of closing. So what we do is we create these models based on the data that you have in your system, train the system, and it'll provide scoring models to say, here are the leads and the opportunities that we think have the highest likelihood of closing. So as a salesperson, I no longer have to guess what I think the deals are and the characteristics need to be. I have a system that recommends these for me in a more proactive fashion. So next, I'm a salesperson and I have a potential lead. I don't know this person, but what if Dynamics could recommend someone who also knows this individual I'm looking for? With the Who Knows Who feature, what we do is we create a social graph within your entire tenant, and we can find colleagues of yours who may know this individual that you need to reach out to. Because from information we've learned that having a warm introduction or a name mentioned when you reach out to a lead increases interest and response rate from 300% to 500%. So this is a fantastic feature, and I've heard that a lot of people have been asking for this for years now, and we finally have something in the works, and this will also be coming out in the fall. Now, as a salesperson, one of the things I do is I send a lot of emails. I have a lot of interactions with my customers. And I don't always know what's happened. Now, what if the system could help you figure out what has gone on after you've hit that magical send button? So with the email engagement, we track these emails that you have sent out of Dynamics. And if someone has opened your email, clicked on a link, or opened an attachment, Dynamics can come back and say, hey, we found out that this customer has taken these actions. And as a salesperson, it's really useful information because if you sent your customer information about a product or a quote, and they've really looked into each one of these emails that you sent, but they haven't responded, it's actually a very strong indicator that the customer is interested, but they haven't yet taken those next steps. So with the email engagement capability in Dynamics, you can now figure out when a customer has taken these actions, and you can take that next step forward by setting up a meeting or driving a phone call and trying to close out that deal. In addition, if the customer hasn't responded in a number of days, we can set up reminders where it shows up in the relationship assistant that the customer has not responded to your email. Next is another capability, auto data capture. So salespeople today, when they track emails or meetings, they have to go to the Outlook client, they hit track and set regarding, and this is the outside of the context of Dynamics 365. But what if we could be really intelligent, find those emails that we think are part of this deal that you're working on, bring it directly into the Dynamics, and you can have a one-click share with your team in the sense that you're just tracking it within the context of Dynamics 365. You never have to leave that working experience to do what you need to do and not have to go to Outlook to do it. Next, we have a great capability called talking points. So as a salesperson, I interact with many people each day, and I don't have photographic memory. So wouldn't it be great if the system could remind me of key conversational topics? So what we do here is we look at emails that you've had with a particular contact or lead, and we use machine learning to understand what conversations have happened and understand particular topics. So based on personal interests, such as entertainment, sports, health, or out of office, we can detect these things. So if a customer ever sends you an email saying, I'm out of office, I went to Hawaii for vacation, or in our case, Orlando for a conference, these kind of things will be detected and will be brought to the salesperson's attention through the talking points feature, where I'm never going to forget these details about the person. I can build a report the next time I talk to them and make the customer feel like they were really important and they were, every single detail about them I would remember. Next is a great capability we call notes analysis. So I'm a busy salesperson, and I'm entering data into Dynamics 365. So I might just take a quick note in my timeline that says, just finishing up the call with Anna, she'd like to send us the initial proposal for the Skyline printers. She also introduced me to Shira from the legal team. Now, inside this post, there's actually quite a bit of information here, and this is on a post. Inside of Dynamics, we always want to create more structured data. So one of the things we do is we make it really easy for a salesperson to do so. I mean, we took notes, it's really easy, but wouldn't it be really great if in a single click, we could take these recommendations through machine learning, we detect what has been said, and we can recommend creating those activities, those emails, meetings, phone calls, contacts, or tasks. So in a single click, we can go from a post to a fully structured CRM record, super easy for the salesperson. So next, we have a feature called Relationship Analytics. Now, quite often, a sales team has a lot of interactions with a customer. But as a team member, I don't always know what's happened. With Relationship Analytics, what we do is we analyze all of those interactions among the sales team and understand what has gone on between your sales team and your customers, and we rate it with a score of what do we think is your relationship health. Sorry about that. What is the relationship health? So as a salesperson, I can look at my pipeline of opportunities coming in and see if there's any deals that maybe I've neglected these customers. We've been really busy going on with really big deal A, but I really need to be focusing on really big deal B because I've been kind of neglecting them. With the relationship health and relationship analytics, we understand what has happened, and we can provide this information to the salesperson. They always know, where should I spend my time in case there's a customer that really needs my attention and the deal is closing soon. Furthermore, relationship analytics also provides information such as number of emails, meetings, phone calls that were sent back and forth in either direction, what's the average response rate, the response time, and overall KPIs that measure how is the health between our relationships. We also have the relationship assistant. And the relationship assistant, as I said, is an overall assistant that helps the salespeople with information that they need to know before they ask for it. And it really covers a pretty broad category of insights that we provide. One of the fundamentals is we always bring in important emails that a salesperson may need to know. For example, a customer is potentially dissatisfied and the sentiment is low, as an issue detected. Or another email may be a potential lead. We use machine learning to detect intensive emails from your inbox. And we really surface this at the top of the assistant inside of Dynamics, so you never forget about those important deals. We also support many other scenarios. In the morning, we also give you a briefing of who are the top people and the top opportunities you may want to deal with during that daytime. If you have a meeting, we'll provide you with information on what's happening, when it is, where it is. We'll also give you the latest news about the deals that's happening today. So as a salesperson, I'm always informed on what I need to do and when I need to do it. The relationship assistant really is there to span from that process when I have a lead and helping you along the way, all the way until I close the deal. Great, so I got some time here. I'm just going to do a quick demo. How do I start with the demo? Sorry? How do I get the demo? Great, so before I kick off the demo, I just want to ask if there's any questions in the audience. Looks good. We got one over there. Sorry, could you repeat that? Got it. So the question is, what languages are supported in October? So the October release, we're releasing for the US only, and this would support English for the machine learning models at this time. For the capabilities that are not using machine learning for text analytics, they will work in a localized format. So the question is, when are we going to be releasing for the other languages? We're currently evaluating a roadmap and looking to expand into EMEA, likely in the January timeframe. Not committed yet.
Into expansion on that, I work with customers in the Nordics. They generally work in the systems English. A lot of the emails are Danish and Swedish. So I work a lot in the Nordics region, and although they have their dynamics in English, a lot of the content of the emails is in Swedish and Danish and Norwegian. Will it work with both language? Is it going to be based on the language they've got selected in the UI, or is it going to work, just detect the language?
Okay, so the question is, if they're working in two different languages, would it detect it in both? And right now, since we're using English only, it would only detect the English language. However, in the future, when we support multiple languages, it will work with multiple languages. Great, I'm going to do a quick demo. So this is a day in the life of a salesperson. I am working in Dynamics 365, and I'm coming to my dashboard. So the first thing I see is, I see all my open opportunities I'm working on, and one of the things it's doing is it's triaging what is the relationship health among all of these opportunities. So I'm looking at this, and for the most part, most of them are pretty good. I mean, we've got a few fair and two poors. I just want to see, where should I spend my time in the day? So I can go drill down into the opportunities, and here it is, and I want to see this in a more visualized format. I want to know how these deals are impacting my incoming pipeline. So I open up the relationship pipeline chart that we have here. And what this is doing is visualizing my incoming pipeline, where the x-axis is days until close, the y-axis is relationship health, and the size of the bubble is the deal. So as I look at my incoming pipeline, see, for the most part, the big deals are green, but there's a few down at the bottom I want to pay more attention to. So let's drill down and see what's happening. So I see this one's particularly poor. I want to see what's happening. So I'm going to drill down into the keyboard sales opportunity. Take a look and say, hey, look, there's a few things going on. So we have the opportunity scoring model, and we say this one's generally pretty good. I mean, we have a high likelihood of closing, but the health isn't very good. We have the relationship assistant, tells me that the deal is closing soon, and the health is poor. So let's take a look at what's happening. So I can investigate this further with relationship analytics, and I can see that, I don't have a next activity scheduled with this customer, and for the most part, it looks like we've had a healthy amount of interactions, but the response rate from them hasn't been very good. And maybe it's saying that the customer needs a little bit more motivation and more interaction with the salesperson to get them more invested. Typically, our response time is a little quick. Theirs is a little bit slower, so the customer is kind of, it needs a little bit of encouragement. So going back to the record here, we see auto data capture is bringing in data, and they can do a one-click track. This is demo, so if they needed to, they can just track the email from the timeline. And lastly, if we're looking at John Miller, when we're looking at John Miller, we also have the who knows who capability, where we can see who in my company knows this person. So in this case, we can see that we have a number of individuals within my organization that knows John Miller. And if I click into one of them, I can get some more information. I can reach out to this person to help me with the deal, or I can just get introduced. I can type an email and send it in to one of my colleagues. And lastly, we also have the talking points feature here, where we say, oh, we recently had an email that says, I really enjoyed the basketball game last night. And this is information that I can use. So the next time I reach out to John Miller, I can start that conversation about basketball and discuss which of the teams recently had a game and who won. And this really helps me as a salesperson build that rapport, not only with who in my company can really give me that warm lead and introduction, as well as those details I need to build rapport with my customer. So this is a really quick rundown of all of the capabilities that we have for the, oops, let me go back to the slides here. For the AI within Dynamics 365, so coming back to the relationship assistant, this is one of those systems that provide you the entire information of what you need to know before you ask for it. And one last thing I want to call out here is a relationship assistant has new capability for the fall for extensibility. Integrators can now put relationship assistant cards directly in the UI surface that we have, and we're really looking for partners to do it. So I want to give a quick call out to Inside View. They're our first ISV partner to provide integration relationship assistant. They have one card coming in the fall and more coming in the future, and that will be available for launch along with the AI for sales capabilities coming in October. So just takeaways here. Dynamics 365 AI for sales is really here to empower sellers with AI. And we want to encourage these salespeople to put that information in Dynamics where we can provide those insights to help you do your job better and sell more effectively. These insights are embedded directly inside of the Dynamics 365 context in the places where you do your work and where you spend most of your time. And lastly, these capabilities are super easy to set up. A number of them are just a few clicks, and we light everything up for the salesperson. So time to value is very quick and very effective. And these are 3 takeaways I wanted to have. We have another session at 11:30 today, Accelerate Business Transformation with the Power of AI. And this is where we talk about AI in the grander scheme of things, not just in sales, but the other lines of businesses that are within the Dynamics family. So I just want to give a quick call out. That's today at 11:30, and that's session BRK 2398. Thank you very much. Any questions?